I'm Morgan Lou Parkhurst of Sharp Mind Marketing, and this is another episode of Sharp Mind Marketing TV. Today we are going to drill down on 3 big bets, the 3 big goals that you have for your business, the 3 big changes that you would like to start implementing in your business for the long haul. What can you do to drill down on 3 big goals for yourself? Well, the first thing is to prioritize your bets. Why would we have to do this? Why would we have to prioritize the 3 bets instead of just working on them all at once? Well, it's commonplace to work on everything all at once because you don't want to leave anything out. You don't want to miss out on something for your business. You don't want to get behind on ideas that you might have for your business. So it's commonplace to just jump into all 3, but I'm here to tell you that prioritizing them actually makes a lot more sense. Because sometimes with your 3 big bets, you have to accomplish one before you can go on to the others. Think about it like this. Let's say you're trying to increase sales for your business. That would be a good big bet to focus on. But let's say you're also working on your visibility, the awareness people have of you in the marketplace, and also your credibility. Maybe you're a new business and so people just aren't aware of who you are. Maybe they know you're out there, but they don't really know much about you. So you have to work on that credibility as well. Most people are going to jump right to that pushing the sales kind of thing, really drilling in on the sales, but not realizing that they're putting the cart before the horse. It's a lot easier to get sales when you have an infrastructure in place for your visibility. It's pretty hard for people to buy from you if they don't know you're there, right? So you have to work on that visibility first. And in order to make that visibility stick, you might actually have to work on that credibility so that once people hear about you and they get to know you, they like what they see and they feel familiar with you and then want to do business with you. So prioritize your 3 big bets one at a time so that you can see, do I need to accomplish one of my big bets before I can really work on any of my others? Because that's often the case. We have to work on 1 to 2 things before we can get everything else done. The next thing you can do to really drill down on your 3 big bets is to focus on one at a time. Now this is helpful if you find yourself really frazzled. Maybe you have a lot going on in your business. Maybe you need to really be able to drill down on one thing at a time in order to really implement it. Maybe you're not someone who likes to work on a bunch of things at once. And even if you are someone who likes to work on a bunch of things at once, if you find you're not really getting all of your ideas implemented, you may want to pick one at a time and really go gazelle intense on that particular bet, making sure that what you're working on day in, day out for your business, the tactics, the marketing, the communications, everything you're doing is supporting that one bet. And that way you can really start to see some movement with your bets instead of spreading yourself thin, trying to do everything and not really seeing any big change. So focusing in one at a time is a really helpful way to make sure that you're putting all of your energy into one initiative so that you actually see it through to completion. The third thing you can do is give yourself a deadline. Now deadlines sound terrible, so maybe we'll just call it a timeline. That sounds a little bit nicer. People don't typically like to give themselves timelines because they're afraid they're not going to accomplish their, in this case, 3 big bets within that timeline. But I'm here to tell you, don't worry about it. It doesn't matter. At this point, you want the timeline just to give yourself some structure. If you don't get everything done in the timeline you set for yourself, we'll worry about that later. What you want right now is a timeline to say, this is when I'm going to work on the first big bet. Then I'm going to work on the second big bet at this time frame, and then finally I'll get to the 3rd big bet at this point in time. If you find that you're not allowing enough time for your business, your 3 big bets, then you can go back to the drawing board and say, do I need to allot a little more time? Do I need to rethink my timeline? It's okay to have to do that. It's not a sign of failure. It's not a sign that you don't know what you're doing or that you shouldn't be doing this at all. It just means you're getting new information. Now that you're in process with your big bets, you're going to get new information. And yes, you may have to restructure your timeline. You may even have to restructure the order that you work on them. If you find that oh, I prioritized them in the wrong way. Maybe, you know, I did put sales second and it really should have been third. Oh, I need to go back to the drawing board. Completely natural, totally normal. Again, the idea is to give yourself some accountability, to give yourself some structure so that you don't find yourself just talking about your 3 big bets, but instead you're actually doing something about them. So again, your 3 ways to drill down on your 3 big bets. First of all, prioritize them. Sit down and really think about, is there one that needs to be accomplished before the others? Your second step is to make sure that you're focusing on one at a time, especially if you find that you're getting really frazzled with your day-to-day work. And third, give yourself a timeline for your 3 big bets. Again, giving yourself a timeline for each individual bet. You know, when do you really want to accomplish most of your work with each one? And then overall, when do you want to have accomplished those 3 big bets for the long haul of your business? My name is Morgan Lou Parkhurst of Sharp Mind Marketing, and this has been another episode of Sharp Mind Marketing TV. Thank you so much for being here with me today.